Hey there everyone, and welcome to Cure Club. I am all caught up on Star Twinkle again and more excited than ever to talk about it. I hope my voice will let me. I'm a little bit, sick or allergen filled right now. Either way, hopefully my voice doesn't give out. Excuse a little bit of crackliness in the voice throughout this if that happens. Oh, there it was there. Man, this series continues to have very few low points for me so far. And these episodes especially were all enjoyable in their own ways. Episode 13 was a cute fish out of water story. Episode 14 was a heartfelt story about family. Episode 15 had off-planet shenanigans, a key character introduction, and some intriguing plot hooks all in one. And episode 16, while the most fillery, still had some good insights into Madoka and her parents. The first 3 episodes all either fleshed out or propelled the story in different ways, meaning none of them felt like full-blown filler to me. And again, even though I would classify episode 16 as filler, it's not like it had nothing of interest going on. It's kind of astonishing, but I've been hard-pressed to call much of anything filler up until now. Even the most fillery episode before this, the one with P.P. Abraham, had some forward momentum from the episode before it, and it set the stage for Lala entering school in the next. At minimum, even episodes with not much else going on plot-wise at least showed a star color pen retrieval or new tactics from the villains, which are small developments, but still enough to assure viewers that they aren't getting stuck in a rut. That it took until episode 16 to reach full-blown, well, not much new happened in that episode territory is kind of impressive by Precure standards. Episode 13 gives us character progress with Lala as we follow her through her first days at Mihoshi Middle School. Aside from Lala looking cute as a button in a school uniform, the highlight of this episode is her reactions to this new environment. We already knew that people from Saman rely on their AI for information rather than learning much for themselves. Seeing that taken to a logical extreme with Lala treating 2-digit arithmetic as god-tier knowledge is 1, hilarious, and 2, heartbreaking when we see just how much this affects her confidence. I mean, Lala is effectively a homeschool student going to public school for the first time, and one who grew up in another country at that. Alien planet stuff aside, of course someone in that situation wouldn't have an easy time adapting. And I'm glad the showrunners are not only not glossing over those struggles, but building them into one of the show's most important emerging themes: understanding and accepting people's differences. Episodes 13 and 14 pair well as stories about people who grew up differently from those around them and how societal pressure to fit in affects them. Lala worries about not speaking like her human friends, not understanding all the same things they do, and having to use her AI for help. Toma feels embarrassed by his family breaking out into song and dance all the time, and doesn't like having different family traditions from his friends. We also learn that Elena used to feel self-conscious about these things too, wishing she had a quote-unquote normal family. With Lala, we see her new classmates quickly accept her speech patterns as part of what makes her who she is. Hearing Lala say Lun all the time makes people smile once they get used to it, to the point where she gains an affectionate nickname from it. She learns that she doesn't have to force herself to assimilate completely into Earth culture in order to make friends and have a life there. The good-hearted kids at the school accept her as she is, which tells young viewers that they should likewise be accepting of those who are different in their lives. Toma's friends don't extend that understanding to Mr. and Mrs. Amamiya, but Toma at least learns that what his friends think is normal shouldn't dictate what's normal for him. Not having seen a ton of other Precure series, I can't say for sure whether these themes are new to the franchise or not. However, I do feel like they're themes I don't see very often in anime at least, let alone in anime aimed at children. You could argue that this is because Japan is a less diverse nation than others, and while that's true, that doesn't mean there's no place for teaching Japanese children about diversity. Japan has a more homogeneous population than many nations, but it's far from completely homogeneous as the Japanese government would have you believe. While official census data says that about 98.5% of the population is Japanese, this refers only to nationality, not ethnicity. So say indigenous Ainu people, Korean or Chinese people with naturalized citizenship, and multi-ethnic citizens born in Japan, like Elena and her siblings, are all considered Japanese for census purposes. This means it's hard to know exactly how ethnically homogenous Japan really is. The percentage has gotta still be high, but some analyses suggest that the levels of diversity in the country are far greater than the government is willing to acknowledge. Heck, even if we were to take the census data at face value and say that only 1.5% of the population is non-Japanese, that's still almost 2 million non-Japanese people across the country. My point being that positive messages about diversity are still important for Japanese children to hear. There's still a lot of discrimination in the country against not only non-ethnically Japanese people, but other minority groups such as the LGBT community, disabled and mentally ill people, overweight people, people living in poverty, and people from certain historically oppressed families. With Star Twinkle's focus on making friends with aliens, it can't help but be at least partially about not only accepting different cultures and ways of life, but celebrating them. Granted, the show could be a little better about stereotyping. I know I've seen at least a few Hispanic and Latinx viewers point out that the way Elena's home looks, with all the cactus and sombrero drawings on the walls, reaches hitting the audience over the head levels of cliché. Like, hey, this family's Mexican, did you get that? Did you? Here, have some more cacti, I think you didn't get it. Also, while Carlos is an endearing father who's hard not to smile at, he does also fit some stereotypical foreigner tropes from anime, namely the whole loud and blonde equals foreign thing. Still, these are relatively minor complaints. Episode 14 still feels well-intended for the most part. Elena's father and her family traditions never feel like jokes, especially since, again, it's clear that Toei wants viewers to see this family in a positive light. And any way you slice it, Carlos and Kaede are still couple goals. I mean, look at these cuties. Just look at them. Shifting gears a bit, let's talk villain stuff. While their fights are still standard, randomly find the cures and demand the Star Color Pens fights, they did show off the effects of Capard and Tenjo's power-ups. And it was a relief to see that neither of them got the ability to create knot riggers. Both can steal imagination now, but Capard uses this energy to transform his beam saber, and Tenjo uses it to turn people into knot rays. The latter in particular is a weirdly creepy concept that reminds me of some stuff that used to scare the crap out of me as a kid, like characters being roboticized in the old Sonic cartoons. Something about changing a person or a lovable cartoon character into something so machine-like and faceless just really, really unsettles me. Anyway, yeah, fewer knot riggers. Good stuff, thank you. Alright, before I launch into episode 15, let me just say a little bit about episode 16, since I unfortunately have the least to say about it. Like I said before, this episode was fine, but it's definitely the most fillery episode we've seen so far. We've had character-focused episodes with little overarching plot before, but usually either the depth of character exploration was deeper in them, or there was at least one of those small plot progressions like star pen retrievals and whatnot. I'm not surprised the showrunners eventually hit the point of, yeah, there's not much we can do with this episode besides some minor character work and throwing in a one-shot character for the Monster of the Week fight. What are you gonna do? What I'm pleased about at least is that, as bog-standard filler episodes go, this one was an entertaining watch at least. We know about Madoka's high-pressure family situation, so the struggles she goes through in this episode aren't that new. I did like, though, that they framed that pressure through the lens of Mr. Kaguya and his failure to make headway on the alien investigation. It's still unfair to offload more pressure on his daughter because he's feeling pressured, but it's at least a reason beyond, Madoka, you need to work harder because this family works hard. Grr, I'm a hard ass. We also get this telling photo of a young Mr. Kaguya in archery gear, which, like the best photos, tells 1,000 words about his probable motivations. Not only is Mr. Kaguya a strict parent with high expectations for his daughter, he may also be trying to live vicariously through her to compensate for his own lost glory days. Again, unfair as hell to Madoka, but narratively very interesting. The rest of the episode was fine enough. Nasu was a cool one-shot character with her shonen protagonist design and "oh no, I'm only a jerk because I'm sad and lonely" storyline. I don't think Madoka really needed to be taught that she needs to rely more on people than herself, because she's been doing pretty well at that already, but it wasn't too out of the realm to have her backslide under all the pressure from her father, so I'm not gonna complain about that. The knot rigger was a knot rigger. The only obnoxious part of this episode was the shoehorned in toy advert with the fortune charm machine. But yeah, other than that, not a bad episode. Just not much to say about it is all. Okay, now on to what you probably want to hear the most about. Episode 15 is not only the most elaborate off-planet adventure we've seen yet, but we also meet someone the opening has been teasing since episode 1. The intergalactic super idol Mao and her mysterious alter ego, Blue Cat. Of course, none of this is a surprise to anyone who follows press about Star Twinkle, with an April magazine article having spoiled the Mao/Blue Cat reveal several weeks ago. And of course there was, one other potentially relevant spoiler leaked back when the Star Twinkle toys first came out. As painfully obvious as that spoiler is, I'll refrain from talking about the details of it for now if you haven't heard about it. Anyway, even considering the things we already know about Mao, clearly this space kitty still has a few more secrets up her sleeve. Metaphorical sleeve. Whatever. Like, where did Mao come from? How did she become an idol? How did she become a phantom thief, for that matter? Where did she get that magic perfume bottle? Which of her forms is the real one, if either? And how does she already know who both the Precures and Iwan are? A likely plot hook pops up during the auction scene when we get a suspiciously detailed and tragic backstory for a rainbow necklace on display. Apparently this necklace came from the now-dead Rainbow Planet, the inhabitants of which have all mysteriously turned to stone. Now, something tells me that a mega-famous idol like Mao wouldn't be doing the whole phantom thief thing for no reason, especially not with a goal as specific as obtaining the star color pens. If she just so happens to have a connection to this doomed world, a world that could perhaps be saved if one were to gather all the pens and make a wish on them, a la Dragon Ball? That strikes me as a pretty dang good reason. Aside from this story conveniently being told in the same episode as Mao's debut, the show associates Mao more directly with rainbows during her live performance when we see a flurry of rainbow lasers and rainbow hologram replicas of her on stage. Apologies to the Twitter user I stole that insight from. I tried to find your tweet again, but could not. And there is also, again, a more spoilery reason to believe she has a rainbow connection. But again, I won't get into that just yet. For now, just know that this theory isn't based solely on convenient timing. Now, here's my maybe slightly more cuckoo bananas theory. So, Mao and Bakinyan are the same person, right? I mean, I'm not the first one to speculate on that front. People have been talking about Mao and Bakinyan since that magazine article last month. Not everyone thinks they're literally the same person. In fact, I'm pretty sure I'm in the minority on that front. But it seems pretty clear that the two characters are at least connected somehow. Both are cat characters, both have elements of blue and purple in their designs, both have green eyes, both sport gold triangles in their outfits, and most tellingly, Blue Cat's glasses and Bakinyan's monocle have identical rounded cat eye frames. These kinds of design choices, especially the frames, are very unlikely to be accidental. There is some reason why these designs echo each other so much. Some theorize that the two may be related, perhaps father and daughter. This wouldn't be the first time Precure has pulled the "oh no, my father is a bad guy" plot twist, so that seems like a reasonable guess. Some theorize that they may both be survivors from the Rainbow Planet, and maybe they're working together behind the scenes to undermine the baddies. This would help explain how Blue Cat got her information on Precure and the Knot Raiders. Again, a reasonable theory. I would not be surprised if either of these theories or something similar turns out to be true. However, a few details make me wonder if there could be another explanation. Number 1. Blue Cat's insult towards Iwan seems so personal. It could still be that Bakenyan just passed on information about how annoying Iwan is, but I feel like you wouldn't make a remark that biting about someone unless they've slighted you personally. And we all know who would have the most experience on that front now, don't we? Number 2. Iwan very pointedly remarks on Bakenyan not being around. This to me feels like the writers drawing a circle around Mao and Bakenyan not being in the same place at the same time. It's possible that Bakenyan could have hung back due to not wanting to join a fight against Mao, which would make sense if they're secretly allied, but just the way the scene is written felt to me more like, oh look, it's Superman! Huh, I wonder where Clark Kent is, more than anything else. This seems to be reinforced in episode 16 when Bakenyan draws attention to his previous absence with the line, "Now that I'm here with you again." Number 3. Mao has a magic perfume bottle that can drastically alter her appearance. Let me say that again. Mao has a magic perfume bottle that can drastically alter her appearance. Do you honestly think the writers would introduce a story element that powerful and only use it for one purpose? Number 4. Remember the episode where the generals form their own knot rigger? They ask Bakenyan to join in, but he refuses due to concerns of unbalancing the group's power levels. The hesitance in his answer suggests to me that this was an excuse, not a real reason. Perhaps if he had let the dark pen affect him and take away his imagination, that would have risked giving something away. Like the fact that he's secretly Mao, maybe? And number 5. Okay, this isn't evidence, but I feel like if Bakenyan turns out to have been Mao in disguise the whole time, that would mean that Mao has actually been around since the first few episodes of the series. I've been disappointed for a while now that Mao/Blue Cat wasn't introduced until almost a third of the way into the show, despite featuring so prominently in the opening sequence. I dislike when characters as important seeming as her enter in so late with seemingly little justification. Precure has fallen victim to this kind of thing before, and I don't want it to happen again here. Again, I feel like if the writers are competent this time around, and so far they seem to be, they'll have realized this too. And maybe have secretly introduced Mao early on in the form of Bakenyan, oh my god! Okay, yeah, maybe enough about kooky pet theories for now. Get it? Pet theories? So, yeah, what else was good about this episode? Well, we probably shouldn't let this video go by without mentioning the donut auction, without a doubt one of Madoka's most iconic scenes to date. Everything about this exchange is absolutely perfect, and I will hear none otherwise. Also, the whole character of Mr. Drums embodies the idea of mega rich people being the absolute worst, while still making him a really entertaining character, so that's cool. The flashback of Prince traveling with Fua and being inspired by Mao's song to fight on was surprisingly touching, and the song itself is catchy enough, if maybe not famous across the universe catchy. It'll do the job. Oh, and one last thing. The Cure's outfits in this episode were really cute. And now that I think about it, it's not that far-fetched to think that Mao would have those 4 color-coordinated outfits that just happen to fit them all perfectly. I mean, she did say it was part of her plan to have the cures distract everyone while she stole the pen. So having those costumes at the ready for them makes a weirdly high amount of sense. Alright, cool. I think we are good to wrap up with a couple more viewer questions. Blossom Mirage wrote, "Thanks for the new episode. I love these so much. The movie episode made me so happy. It got super gay near the end, and that always makes me super giddy for some reason. Like, kids show, please have gay characters, please representation, make Lala the first gay alien, all caps, I agree. I didn't get to say last time, but I really liked the stuff like Elena being the dashing sun prince, and Hikaru making her emotional confession to Lala about not wanting her to leave. While Precure, I think, will always be frustratingly close to actual lesbian or bi girl rep without explicitly going there, outside of stuff like the Kira Kira manga, maybe. My gay little heart still appreciates what it can get. V-Movie wrote, "This series is my first Precure, so it is nice to have Cure Club to watch alongside. I personally really like the formula. It brings me back to a simpler time as a kid watching Sakura Cardcaptor and getting excited with transformation. As an adult, it's a nice breather to just relax and watch pretty colors and the power of friendship. One thing I really like that's really dumb and not in-depth." I think that's a really valid reason to watch Precure. Considering how the world is nowadays with the reemergence of far-right and fascist political movements and the increasing danger of climate change and the everyday horrors of our capitalist landscape and the general feeling of looming dread around every corner, I think now more than ever we need places and things that are just nice. Not, to be clear, where we can pretend that the world doesn't have problems, or where we can say, "Oh gosh, isn't it so nice there's none of that there politics here," because there's still plenty political or social you could say about Precure. But just a world where people are generally happy, and girls are encouraged to be who they are and fight for what's right, and things are bright and colorful, and magic exists, and the power of love and friendship really does always win in the end. It's just a nice world to escape to for 20 minutes a week or so, okay? Yeah. And in their longer comment, Cold X Feet wrote, "The show being formulaic can get tiring sometimes, but it's definitely up to the writers and directors of the season that determine how well that formula goes over. The worst of it is trying to catch up in one season, and it just repeats the exact moral every episode for 4 episodes straight, which is how I ended up giving up on Mahotsukai. I can't comment on A la Mode, Hugto, and Star Twinkle, as I've watched them as they came out, so some episodes feel worse than others, but since I'm watching it as it comes out, it's easier to sit through a bad episode." This is a really good point. It's possible I maybe wouldn't be as positive on some of the less plot-driven episodes of Star Twinkle were I binging it all at once rather than having a week to breathe between each episode. The reason I haven't caught up with a lot of Precure yet, even celebrated seasons like Heartcatch Precure, is that it can get tiring to watch a lot of episodic content in one sitting. A small plot development may be something exciting to hold on to when it's the only bit of Precure you get for the week, but it may feel like tasteless table scraps if you're gorging yourself on a whole series at once. Does that mean you should never binge Precure? No, obviously people do that a lot. It's just a different experience compared to week-by-week viewing, and one that should be kept in mind when considering the overall quality of a series, I think. Alright, well, I think that's all I've got to say for this batch. I really hope the next installment doesn't take as long as these two did to come out. Either way, I hope you look forward to more Cure Club, and I look forward to hearing all your thoughts about these episodes. Thank you very much for watching, and see you all soon! Thanks so much again to all my patrons who support me every month, especially Anna, Author X, Julia and Kyle, Lavitz, and Otaku no Podcast. Also, just thought you should know that Rally Vincent deserved better, and that the best transformation phrase is Tekumakumayakon, Tekumakumayakon. Gokigenyo, motherfuckers. I wouldn't be doing this if not for the generous support of viewers like you. You can support me on Patreon for as little as $1 a month at patreon.com/AaronCerise. You can make small one-time donations at ko-fi.com/AaronCerise. Or you can always share this video and leave a like or comment to show your support. Thanks so much again, and have a good day! Goodbye!